first Conservative woman elected in Wales, followed very swiftly by the member for Ynys-Môn and then Brecon and Radnor. Mr Chairman, I want to follow on the theme laid out by my honourable friend for the Vale of Clwyd. I trained as a nurse in the same hospital which 30 years later I returned to support the fight against COVID. 30 years ago, the health service in Wrexham was the envy of all, especially from our neighbours across the border. But over the past 10 years, I have seen, as have my constituents, the healthcare provision in Wrexham crumble. And that is why I will focus on what I and my constituents consider to be the biggest shortcoming of the Welsh Labour government: healthcare. Now, we know that money won't in itself improve services, but it is part of the solution. Last year alone, the UK government provided £3.8 billion under the Barnett formula to the Welsh Labour government. And this was in addition to the £5.2 billion the Welsh Labour government received to fight COVID. Now, that's in addition to the UK government's secured 6.5 million doses of the vaccine. And I need to mention, Chair, that it was Wockhart in my constituency of Wrexham that made the AstraZeneca vaccine jab ready. And it was Her Majesty's government which created the environment, enabling Wockhart to act swiftly, benefiting not only Wales, the UK, but globally with the COVAX programme. Now, despite the funding, Welsh Labour government has failed to deliver even an acceptable level of healthcare. In the past 5 years, NHS Wales has made 29 MACA requests. That's 29 cries for help to the UK government. 8 MACA requests for the ambulance service alone, 5 being approved to the sum of 2.8 million. Now, this demonstrates the UK government's commitment to Wales and our union, as my honourable neighbour for Clwyd South detailed previously. Now, Mr Davis, for the past 20 years, the Welsh Labour government have blamed the UK government for the poor services and health outcomes across Wales because they don't get enough money. We know they do, but instead of spending it where it is needed, they choose to save it, presumably for a rainy day, or spend it on grandiose white elephants like Cardiff Airport and Pinewood Studios. In 2012, under the ministerial responsibility of the Senedd member for Wrexham, Welsh Labour government reduced the healthcare budget, meaning that it is now being underfunded to the tune of 400 million. The only government in Britain ever to have done this, and the results we can see today. The 95% target for patients waiting less than 4 hours in A&E has never been met. 1 in 5 people in Wales are on the waiting list for surgery, and to address this in North Wales, the Health Board have contracted out to England, as the Right Honourable Member for Clwyd West detailed earlier. And over Christmas, it was reported in the media that the Wrexham Myler Hospital is the worst in Wales for A&E waiting times. However, well before the pandemic, NHS Wales was in dire straits. Betsy Cadwallader University Health Board, which serves the people of North Wales, was in special measures from 2015, but despite no tangible improvements in patient care and outcomes, the board was lifted out of special measures late 2020, a few months before the next Senedd election. It would be remiss of me, Chair, because I can see you chivvying me on, just to go through a few of the details that come into my casework every single day about the healthcare provision in Wrexham. 18 hours in A&E to be seen, having been referred by a doctor for a blood clot. Elderly patients sitting in A&E with no medication, food, desperately trying to get the attention of overworked, undervalued staff. Ambulances backed up to 13 in number. People sitting and lying 12 hours in the back of vehicles, even to be seen by a doctor. Constituents giving up waiting for orthopaedics, going abroad for risky, cheap surgery. Diabetic monitoring cut to once a year. 3 years to see a gastroenterologist. 2 years for pain management. And GPs sending people, and A&E sending people over the border to access minor injury units. Therefore, I urge the ministers in Cardiff to look at Wrexham and undertake an inquiry to see what is actually going on there and what people are experiencing. One last point, I'll just wind up, Chair. It's the clinicians that can sort out our NHS, and I urge the Welsh Labour Government and the Health Minister to give the clinicians the voice and the influence they have to sort out the provision for my constituents in Wrexham. Thank you.